What if the white picket fence, two-story house, and luxury vehicles wasn't the American dream, but instead the American nightmare? Right now, more than half of American families are living paycheck to paycheck, and the dream that was sold to us is keeping more families in a two-income trap, requiring two incomes to still barely just make it. So whether you got here because life got expensive or because of lifestyle creep, the way out of this trap is the same. And that's exactly what I'm going to be talking about in this video, how to get out of the two income trap, starting with this very first step, which is to evaluate where you are. Here's the thing, you can't fix what you don't face. So if you find yourself in the two income trap, meaning you are requiring two incomes for your family to barely still survive, you need to figure out exactly where you are. What are you spending your money on? How much income is actually coming in? How much debt do you have? What are you putting on credit cards? Where are you currently at? Are you currently living a lifestyle that is well above your means, requiring you to have two incomes to maintain it? The first step in getting out of this trap is to figure out exactly where your family is right now. Now, as scary as this may seem, I want you to actually look at the number. Pull your bank statements. Look at how much you owe. What is your current net worth? How much are you actually netting each month after your bills are paid? Is it zero? Is it negative? Are you living off of credit cards? You need to evaluate where you are so that you can determine what the next steps are to get out of this trap. Now, once you know where you are, the very next step is to figure out what your family actually values. So step two is define your family values. And this is a step that most families neglect to do. So we want to define what your family actually values so you can evaluate if your spending actually matches what you say that you value. So take some time, sit together as a family and decide what it is that is important to you so that you can align your finances with that vision. So the questions that you need to be asking are you spending money on things because you actually want them or love them? Or are you spending money on things because everyone else is doing it? Are you trying to keep up with the Joneses? Do your kids actually need to be in 5 activities? Do you actually need the designer bag or the luxury vehicle? Do you need the large home, or did you just do it because that's what you thought you were supposed to do? Sit down and evaluate what your actual values are as a family, and then align your finances with what you value as opposed to what you think is the right thing to do for your family because of everything else that you've seen. Once you know what it is that you actually value as a family, you can now align your budget to fund those things and then remove everything else. So the very next step is to reevaluate your family budget and try to begin budgeting on one income. Based on what you value, I want you to go line by line in your budget and ask the question, is this something that aligns with our values? Is this something that we actually need? Or is this just an unnecessary expense that we've been paying for just because we have two incomes or we thought that this is what we needed to have? Literally go through your budget and cut things that are not aligned with your vision. And more importantly, let's try to get that budget under one income. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that someone has to quit their job, but it shows you that if you cannot cover your expenses under one income, you are one health scare, one emergency, one trip to the hospital away from your finances crumbling. So you want to be able to plan under one income, knowing that you have the second income available if necessary. So we're going to begin to rebuild your budget based on one income. And you want to go line by line and ask the question, does this align with our family values? And if I were to lose a job, or if my spouse was to lose a job, would we be able to cover this expense? Would this expense be necessary? If the expense is not necessary, it needs to go out of your budget. So the goal here is to make sure all of your essential expenses are covered by the lowest income of the two paychecks coming in. So this includes your housing, your transportation, your food, your clothes. All of those things that are essential for living should be covered under that lower income. Everything else we need to reconsider. Now, this next step may seem a little scary, but it is something that you have to do, you have to face if you want to get out of that two income trap. And that is for you to begin cutting expenses. But more importantly, you want to cut those fixed expenses. Now, housing is typically the biggest culprit when it comes to your budget, when it comes to the expenses that are going out of your household. And at this point, you need to ask yourself the question, did we purchase this house based on two incomes? Did we purchase these vehicles based on two incomes? Are we living based on two incomes? incomes? And if so, what can we actually cut? So ask yourself, do you need all the square footage? Do you actually need the 2 luxury vehicles with car payments of $1,500 a month? Do your kids need to be in all of these activities, or can they just choose one that they're really good at and passionate about? Can you cut expenses as far as your groceries? Are there subscriptions that you can cut that you don't need or aren't necessary? Do you need the Pilates membership? Do you need the Peloton subscription? Do you need all of the things that you have now built into your lifestyle because you've had 2 incomes? This is the crux of it. Can you cut expenses? But more importantly, can we get these fixed expenses under that 1 income? You don't want to put yourself in a situation where someone loses a job or something tragic happens that you're unable to sustain financially and you end up going bankrupt. So yes, this may be the hard part, but it is the necessary part if you want to get out of the 2 income trap. What expenses can you cut? And more importantly, how can you get those expenses under 1 income? Now, once you have realigned your budget, you cut those expenses, the next step is to actually use that second income strategically. So instead of using the money to begin buying more stuff and getting back into the trap, you actually want to use that second income to save for emergencies and create a buffer. You want to then pay off debt, and then you want to start investing. So the very first step is to start saving money. So we want to save 6 to 12 months worth of your expenses in case of an emergency. So in case of a job loss or anything else, you want to have money readily available in savings to cover those necessary expenses and to give time to get back on your feet financially. Once you have saved for an emergency and other upcoming expenses that you are expecting, the next thing that you want to do is to begin paying off debt. Now, I have a whole book that breaks down my exact debt payoff strategy that my husband and I use to become 100% debt free. Just comment book or click the link in the description to grab that book. It's called Dump Debt and Build Bank, and I'll walk through how I paid off my student loans and how we eventually paid off our house as well. So if you want a strategy for debt payoff, then I strongly recommend checking out my book, Dump Debt and Build Bank. But once you've paid off that debt, the very next thing that you want to do is start investing so that you can build wealth. Now, when it comes to your investment strategy, the very first thing that you want to do is to begin maxing out your retirement account so that your future is secure. Once that's done, then you can open up an individual IRA or retirement account or a separate brokerage account. Now, I've laid out my complete investment strategy in another video, so be sure to stay until the end because I'm going to link it for you to check out. Nonetheless, the strategy here is to begin saving in case of an emergency, pay off your debt, and then you want to begin investing with that second income. Now, at this point, you should be out of the 2 income trap because now you are covering your expenses with 1 income. You have money set aside in case of an emergency. You have paid off all of your debt, and you're also investing to build wealth and as another stream of potential income. But the goal here is to not go back in the 2 income trap. And this is where the mindset change has to happen. So now the next step is to begin making decisions off of the 1 income filter. So you need to ask yourself going forward, if we are making this purchase, can we afford this on 1 income? But more importantly, does this align with our family values and our family vision? If it doesn't, then maybe you don't make that purchase. If you can't afford to add this as an expense under 1 income, maybe this isn't something that we need to do right now. You want to avoid getting back in that trap. So you need to begin filtering your purchase decisions by this test. Can we afford it on 1 income? And also, is this aligned with our family values and our family vision? Now that you've made a mindset change, then this next step should be easy. You should avoid lifestyle creep. This means every time you get a raise, when you get a bonus, if you get a tax refund, when you start to see that wealth building up, do not increase your lifestyle. The rule of thumb here is going to be as your income increases, the very first thing that's going to increase is going to be your savings and also your investments. Those are the priority as that income increases. And then anything else from that, then you can use that money to begin making purchases that maybe weren't able to be covered under that 1 income rule that you had. So you want to avoid lifestyle creep. Don't get the bigger house that's going to require 2 incomes. Don't get the luxury car that's going to require 2 incomes. Don't increase your lifestyle such that you are back in the 2 income trap that you just got yourself out of. You want to avoid that lifestyle creep and first begin to put more money in savings or more money in investing, and then you can use that extra money to begin buying those lifestyle things or doing those lifestyle experiences that you would like to have. But all of this first begins by getting out of the two income trap, seeing where you're at first, identifying what your family values actually are, aligning your budget, cutting those expenses, using that second income strategically, and then changing your mindset, making decisions based off of one income instead of two, and then avoiding lifestyle creep. This is how you get out of the two income American trap that many families find themselves in right now. Now, here's the thing. Once you get out of this two income trap, you have so many possibilities available to you. Where you had to work in order to make ends meet, now there is an option for one person to be able to come home. Maybe you want to become a stay-at-home mom. This gives you the ability to do that, but you can't do it if you find yourself in that two income trap. Now, after you have gotten out of this trap and you have that second income available for strategic use, what you want to do is start investing. So check out this next video where I break down my investment strategy.